The desert winds of the mining colony of Varan 4 never rested. Every hour, fine red dust rolled over the metal roofs and solar panels, painting everything in shades of rust. The colony stood far from any major trade route, hidden beneath endless dunes and a pale yellow sky. To most people in the galaxy, Varan 4 was nothing more than a forgotten outpost, but to Ryan it was home. Ryan worked as a technician for the colony's signal network. His job was simple, though never easy. The communication towers stretched for kilometers across the barren land. Each tower carried signals that connected the colony to the wider human federation. Without them, Varan 4 would be completely silent and alone. That day began like many others. The morning alarm hummed through the dormitory. Ryan rose from his bunk, rubbed his tired eyes, and washed his face in cold recycled water. He looked out through the narrow window at the desert horizon. The sun, a dull orange disk, was climbing slowly. The air shimmered with heat even though the day had barely started. He dressed in his work uniform, a gray suit with a small emblem of the colony's engineering corps. Slinging his tool bag over his shoulder, he walked to the transport bay. His small crawler vehicle waited there, half buried in dust. As he brushed off the sand and checked the power cells, he smiled quietly. The silence of the desert had always given him peace. Ryan set out toward Tower 14, the one farthest from the colony center. It had been malfunctioning for 3 days. The desert stretched endlessly in every direction, broken only by rocky ridges. The crawler hummed gently as he drove. Ryan often talked to himself during these long rides. It helped him stay awake and focused. He reached the tower before noon. The structure rose high above him, a metal skeleton with blinking lights and signal dishes. Ryan began his inspection, climbing the lower rungs carefully and checking the power relays. He found a small crack in one of the cables, probably from a sandstorm. He fixed it quickly, but as he worked, the air around him began to hum with an unfamiliar vibration. Ryan paused. The ground trembled faintly beneath his boots. He turned toward the horizon and saw a bright streak crossing the sky. It was fast, leaving a trail of fire and smoke. The object tore through the clouds and vanished behind a dune ridge with a deep rumble. The sound of impact followed seconds later, rolling through the desert like thunder. He stood frozen for a moment. It could have been a meteor, but the color of the trail looked artificial, too steady and controlled. His heart began to beat faster. He grabbed his communicator and tried to reach the colony base. The channel filled with static. The storm interference was strong today. He looked back at the distant ridge. Something inside him stirred, curiosity mixed with concern. The sensible choice was to wait and report the incident once communication was clear. Yet his instinct told him someone might be hurt. Ryan took a deep breath, secured his tools, and climbed into his crawler again. The vehicle groaned as he turned it toward the crash site. As he drove closer, the air filled with the smell of heated metal. The red dust turned darker, mixed with streaks of smoke. When he reached the top of the ridge, he finally saw it. A small craft lay half buried in the sand below. Its hull shimmered faintly with a silver-blue coating, unlike any human design. The shape was sleek, curved like a wing, with faint glowing symbols running along the sides. Steam rose from several ruptured panels. One of the engines had torn away and smoldered nearby. Ryan's mouth went dry. This was no human shuttle. It had to be alien. He climbed out of his crawler and slowly approached. The heat from the wreck washed over him. The air crackled with residual energy from the craft's systems. He pulled out his handheld scanner and checked for radiation. The reading was safe. "Hello?" he called out. His voice trembled slightly. "Is anyone in there?" There was no answer at first. Then a faint sound reached him, a low groan, muffled and weak. He moved faster now, stepping over twisted metal until he reached a cracked section of the hull. Through the gap he saw movement. Inside, a figure lay trapped among shattered panels. The being was tall, covered in dark metallic armor that seemed fused to her body. A faint blue light pulsed along the edges of her suit. Her skin, where visible beneath the armor, was a pale gray tone. She looked almost human, but her features were sharper, her eyes larger and glowing faintly violet. Ryan hesitated. The alien was alive but injured. One arm was pinned beneath a beam. Her breathing was shallow. He knew he should wait for security, but she would not survive long in this heat. He took a deep breath and examined the structure. Carefully, he used his portable lever to shift the beam. His muscles strained, but finally it moved just enough for him to pull her free. She fell into his arms, light yet strong. The moment her body touched his, her eyes flickered open. The violet glow fixed on him. For a second, he felt as if time had stopped. Her lips moved slightly. The words she spoke were not in any human language, but the tone carried confusion and disbelief. Then she went still again, her breathing faint but steady. Ryan laid her gently on the sand. He pulled out a medical injector from his kit, a standard human stabilizer. It was designed for most oxygen-based species, and he hoped it would help. He injected it carefully into her shoulder joint, avoiding the armored plates. Her breathing became smoother. He needed to get her to safety. The sun was growing hotter, and the wreck could explode if its power core was unstable. He glanced at his crawler. It was small but had a storage bay. He had to try. Piece by piece, he carried her to the crawler, laying her inside with care. The alien's armor hummed faintly, responding to his touch as if scanning him. He secured her in place and covered her with a thermal blanket. Then he climbed into the driver's seat and turned the crawler toward the colony. The trip back felt longer than before. The heat waves shimmered over the dunes. Every few minutes, Ryan looked over his shoulder to check on her. Once her eyes opened again and she watched him silently. He tried to smile to reassure her. "You are safe," he said softly. "I am taking you to our base." She did not answer but continued to stare at him. Her expression was unreadable. Then her eyes closed once more. When Ryan finally reached the colony gates, 2 guards rushed forward. Their scanners beeped in alarm as they saw the alien passenger. One of them raised a communicator and shouted for the medical team. Ryan climbed out, sweat running down his neck. "She crashed near Tower 14, he explained quickly. "She is hurt but stable. We need to treat her before anything else." The medics arrived, pushing a hover stretcher. They hesitated when they saw her armor. None of them had ever seen a Virian before, though every human had heard of them. The mysterious warriors from beyond the outer rim, rarely seen and known to avoid all direct contact. Still, Ryan helped them lift her gently onto the stretcher. Her hand brushed his wrist as they moved her. The touch was light but carried a strange warmth like a faint electric current. She opened her eyes again, looked at him one last time and whispered something in her language. Then she lost consciousness. The medics hurried away with her toward the infirmary. The guards remained, questioning Ryan about what had happened. He answered as best as he could, but his mind was elsewhere. That look in her eyes had stayed with him. Not fear, not anger, but something else. Later that evening, as the sun set behind the dunes, Ryan stood near the observation deck of the colony. The sky burned red and gold. He thought about the alien lying in the medical bay, surrounded by cautious doctors and curious scientists. He wondered who she really was, and what fate had brought her ship crashing here. He did not know that the act of saving her life would soon pull him into the center of an alliance between species. For now, he was only a technician who had followed his conscience. He had no idea that his single act of kindness had already changed his destiny. The colony hospital of Varen 4 had never treated an alien before. Its halls were quiet and clean, built of gray alloy and bright white light. Most patients were miners with dust burns or technicians with small injuries. But that morning, the med bay became the busiest place on the planet. Ryan stood near the entrance, his uniform covered in sand. He watched through the glass wall as the doctors surrounded the alien woman he had rescued. Her armor had been partly removed, revealing smooth gray skin with a faint silver pattern, almost like starlight reflecting on water. The doctors spoke in low voices, their hands careful as they worked. Ryan could not understand the readouts on their screens. He only knew that the alien's breathing was weak but steady. Her pulse showed strong waves of light on the monitor. That gave him a little hope. Commander Hale, the colony's security officer, walked in. He was tall, serious, and looked tired already. "You brought in quite a guest, Ryan," he said, folding his arms. "Do you know who she is?" Ryan shook his head. "She crashed near Tower 14. I only did what anyone would do." Hale raised an eyebrow. "Anyone else would have called for backup first." "You could have been hurt." "I could not leave her there," Ryan said simply. "She was alive." Hale sighed. "You have a good heart, but we must be careful. The Virians are powerful. They do not trust humans. The wrong step could cause trouble." "Virians," Ryan repeated softly. "Is that what she is?" The commander nodded. "Yes, our scanners match the ship design. She is Virian for sure. What we do not know is why she was flying alone near our space. They both turned back toward the glass. Inside the medbay, one of the doctors adjusted a tube connected to the alien's arm. The room filled with the faint hum of machines. Hours passed. The sun outside dipped toward the horizon. Ryan stayed, refusing to leave until he knew she was safe. When night fell, the doctor finally stepped out. She is stable, the doctor said, wiping his forehead. Her biology is complex, but she responds well to oxygen. The wounds were not deep, mostly from shock and heat exposure. She will wake soon. Ryan smiled with relief. Can I see her? The doctor hesitated. Just for a short time. We do not want to cause her confusion. Ryan entered the med bay quietly. The air smelled faintly of medicine and metal. The alien lay on a bed surrounded by soft blue light. Her armor had been removed except for parts covering her arms and shoulders. Her hair was silver and smooth, falling across her face like thin strands of light. For a long time, Ryan simply watched her breathe. He wondered what kind of world she came from, what kind of sky she had grown under. Then her eyes opened. The violet glow returned, brighter this time. She blinked slowly, her gaze moving around the room before landing on him. Her voice came soft but steady, speaking words that his translator bracelet could not yet process. Ryan touched the control on his wrist, switching the device to universal mode. Can you understand me? He asked gently. There was a short pause. The alien studied him with calm curiosity. Then she spoke again, slower. You are human. Her voice was clear now, rich and melodic. Yes, Ryan said. My name is Ryan. You crashed on our planet. I helped bring you here. She looked down at her arm where the medical band wrapped around her. You saved me, she said. Her tone carried surprise as if the idea itself was strange. I could not let you die, he said softly. That would not be right. Her eyes narrowed slightly, not in anger but in deep thought. Humans are unusual, she murmured. Ryan smiled a little. We get that a lot. A faint curve touched her lips, the closest thing to a smile he had seen. She looked around again, examining the machines and lights. Where is my vessel? It is in the desert, Ryan said. Damaged but safe. Our engineers will recover it tomorrow. She nodded slowly. I am Karen, General of the Virian Fleet. Ryan blinked. General? Yes, my ship was attacked by pirates. I escaped through their blockade. My systems failed during the jump. I did not expect to survive. She paused and looked at him again. You risked yourself for me without knowing who I was. Why? Ryan hesitated. He did not have a grand reason. Because it was the right thing to do, he said finally. If someone needs help, I help them. It does not matter where they come from. Karen tilted her head slightly. Her expression softened. Such a simple answer, she said. And yet few among my kind would say the same. The door opened behind them. Commander Hale entered with a small escort. General Karen, I am Commander Hale, leader of Varan 4 Security. We welcome you to our colony and hope you recover quickly. Karen turned her head toward him, her gaze sharp again. You may keep your welcome, she said. I owe my life only to the one who pulled me from the fire. She looked at Ryan again as she spoke. The commander cleared his throat. Of course. We only wish to offer assistance. The Federation will contact your people soon. Karen nodded slightly, then looked back at Ryan. I would speak with him alone. Hale hesitated, but then signaled his team to step out. When the room was quiet again, Karen sat up slowly. Ryan moved to help her, but she raised a hand, showing she could manage. You said you are a technician, she said. Yes, I repair signal towers. Then you are not a soldier. No, he said with a small laugh. I fix machines, not fight wars. Karen studied him with interest. And yet you walked into a burning ship to help a stranger. That is a kind of courage I do not understand. Ryan looked a little embarrassed. It was not courage. It was just the right thing. Karen's gaze softened again. She reached out and touched his arm lightly. Among my people, saving another's life creates a bond. It is a vow that cannot be broken. You have done this for me. Ryan looked confused. A bond? Yes, she said. In our culture, the one who saves another becomes part of their honor chain. It is sacred. I do not expect you to understand, but I will honor it. He smiled politely. Then I am glad you were safe, General Karen. She inclined her head. And I am glad you were there, Ryan of Varan 4. For the next few days, Ryan visited her often. He brought her warm drinks and told her about the colony. She asked endless questions about humans, their food, their art, their history. She listened with quiet fascination to every story. In return, she told him about the Virian homeworld, a planet of silver forests and floating citadels where the air shimmered with magnetic light. Though they came from very different worlds, they found an unexpected connection. Karen admired how humans could live with so little and still smile. Ryan admired how her people valued discipline and unity. One afternoon, Karen stood for the first time since her crash. Ryan was there, helping her balance. Her movements were graceful, strong and controlled. "You recover fast," Ryan said, impressed. "I have to," she replied with a small smile. A general does not stay down for long. As she practiced walking, several technicians entered the medbay with reports. They whispered among themselves, amazed to see her standing. News of her rescue had spread across the colony. Some were afraid, others curious, but most were simply astonished that a human and a Virian were speaking so calmly together. Later that evening, Karen asked to see the sunset from the observation deck. Ryan led her there. The horizon stretched endlessly, glowing red and gold. The wind was soft, carrying the scent of dust and warm metal. Karen watched in silence for a long time. Then she spoke. "Your world is harsh yet beautiful. It grows on you," Ryan said with a small laugh. She turned toward him. "When my fleet learns what happened, they will come. They will not understand why a human risked himself for a Virian, but I will tell them the truth." "What truth?" Ryan asked. "That kindness has power," she said simply, "and that humanity's strength is not only in weapons or machines, but in heart." Ryan looked at her, unsure what to say. Her eyes glowed gently in the fading light, and for a moment she looked almost human. The wind grew cooler as the stars appeared. Karen looked up at the sky where her ship had fallen days ago. "When I return home, I will remember this day," she said quietly. "And I will remember the human who believed a stranger was worth saving." Ryan smiled faintly. "Then that is enough for me." Neither of them knew it yet, but that quiet evening marked the beginning of something far greater than a rescue. It was the first small step toward an understanding that would reshape the fate of both their worlds. The morning on Varin 4 began like any other, quiet and still. The red sky was clear, and the colony workers moved through the dusty streets on their way to the mines and the tower stations. But inside the main communication hall, alarms suddenly began to sound. Ryan had just finished checking the signal logs when he heard the noise. He looked up to see officers rushing toward the central console. The main screen flickered to life, showing a massive object entering orbit above the planet. It was not a human ship. It was too large and too bright, covered in smooth silver armor that reflected sunlight like a mirror. Commander Hale arrived seconds later. His voice was calm, but his face showed concern. "Confirm the reading," he said quickly. "It is real," said one of the officers. "A Virian battlecruiser, sir. It is holding position above us." A wave of silence moved through the room. Everyone knew what that meant. The Virian Empire rarely sent ships into human space, and when they did, it was never for a casual visit. Ryan felt his stomach tighten. He knew at once why they were here. General Karen had said her people would come for her. But he had not imagined they would send a ship so powerful. Outside, the sky changed color as the cruiser moved closer. The sunlight dimmed under its shadow. The colony loudspeakers echoed with the command for everyone to stay inside their buildings. Ryan ran toward the medical wing where Karen was still recovering. The halls were full of nervous workers whispering about the alien ship. When he entered the med bay, Karen was already standing by the window, her eyes fixed on the glowing sky. "They are here," she said calmly. "Yes," Ryan said. "Your people," Karen turned toward him. "Do not be afraid. They will not harm you." Ryan smiled weakly. "I hope you are right." She looked back at the sky. "I sent a beacon signal 2 days ago. I did not expect them to arrive so fast." A loud sound filled the air as a smaller vessel broke through the clouds, descending toward the colony landing pad. It was sleek with glowing blue lights and the Virian emblem shining across its side. Soldiers in protective suits ran to secure the area, but Karen stepped forward. "There is no need for weapons," she said. "I will meet them myself." Commander Hale arrived just in time to hear her. "General, we would prefer to receive them under control." "We do not know their intent." Karen gave him a steady look. "Their intent is me. You have nothing to fear if I am with you." Before Hale could reply, the alien ship landed. The hatch opened with a low hiss and several Virian soldiers stepped out in formation. Their armor shone with the same blue glow as Karen's. They carried no visible weapons, but their presence was enough to make every human guard step back. Then came another figure. Taller than the soldiers, dressed in ceremonial armor with bright markings, he walked forward with calm authority. His eyes glowed like Karen's, but darker, more intense. He stopped a few meters away and spoke in a deep voice. "General Karen of the Virian fleet." Karen stepped forward and saluted in her people's manner, a hand over the heart. "Commander Varys," she said. "It is good to see you again." "The fleet received your distress call," Varys said. "We feared the worst. You were missing for 9 cycles." "I was saved," she said, her eyes turning toward Ryan. "By him." Every Virian soldier turned their gaze toward the human technician standing awkwardly beside her. Ryan shifted nervously, unsure what to do. Varys looked at him for a long moment, then said, "A human." Karen nodded. "Yes, he found me in the desert and brought me to safety. Without him, I would have died." Varys seemed to study Ryan with curiosity and disbelief. "You are brave for a human. Our report said your kind avoids the outer deserts." Ryan tried to smile. "It was not bravery. It was just what needed to be done." Varys gave a short nod, then turned back to Karen. "The council awaits your return. We will escort you to the flagship immediately." Karen's eyes flickered with hesitation. "There is one matter before we leave." Varys frowned slightly. "What matter?" Karen looked directly at Ryan. "According to our customs, when one life is saved by another, a bond is formed. The life debt is sacred. It cannot be ignored or set aside. I owe my life to this human." Varys's eyes widened slightly. "You speak of the Virian oath." "Yes," Karen said firmly. "And I intend to honor it." The commander's expression turned uncertain. "Karen, that oath is ancient. It binds both lives as one. Are you certain you understand what that means between species?" "I do," she said. "He risked his own safety for mine. He deserves respect, not suspicion." The humans watching the exchange looked confused. Commander Hale whispered to one of the officers, trying to understand what was happening. The translator devices picked up the Virian language and displayed the words on a screen. When Hale read them, his eyes widened in surprise. "Ryan," he said quietly, "she is declaring you as her life bond partner. In their culture, that is like marriage." Ryan's mouth fell open. "Marriage? That cannot be right." Karen turned toward him, her voice calm but serious. "Among my people, it is the highest honor. It is not forced. It is recognition. You gave your life for mine, and now our destinies are joined. This is the Virian way." Ryan looked at her in disbelief. Around them, the humans whispered, unsure whether to laugh or salute. Karen seemed completely sincere. Varys crossed his arms. "If the general has spoken the oath, it is binding. The council will honor it. The human must be presented before them." Commander Hale took a deep breath. "General Karen, with respect, this is very sudden. Our governments are not prepared for this kind of alliance." Karen faced him steadily. "It is not a political alliance. It is a vow of gratitude and trust. Your federation will see that as a gift, not a threat." Hale turned to Ryan. "Do you understand what she is offering?" Ryan swallowed hard. "Not completely." Karen stepped closer to him. "It means you are part of my honor chain now. In the eyes of my people, you are one of us. You will be treated as such." He looked into her glowing eyes. There was no mockery, no trick, only honesty and respect. "If this is what your people believe, then I will not refuse it," he said quietly. Karen smiled faintly, the first true smile she had shown since her crash. "Then it is done." Varys bowed his head in acknowledgement. "The fleet will inform the council. Prepare the human for transport." The humans around them were speechless. Some smiled nervously. Others exchanged amazed glances. Commander Hale finally exhaled and muttered, "I have never seen diplomacy move this fast." Ryan followed Karen as she walked toward the shuttle. The air around them shimmered with energy from the cruiser above. The closer they got, the more surreal it felt. Only days ago, he had been repairing a broken tower alone in the desert. Now he was about to board an alien warship as the life-bonded companion of a Virian general. Inside the shuttle, the walls glowed with soft light. The seats were shaped to fit both human and Virian bodies. Karen guided him to sit beside her. "Do not be nervous," she said kindly. "They will respect you." "I am not nervous," Ryan said, though his voice betrayed him slightly. Just surprised, Karen gave a small laugh. I was surprised too when I woke in your world. You could have left me there, yet you chose not to. That choice has meaning. The shuttle rose gently from the ground. Through the window, Ryan watched the colony grow smaller below them. He thought of the people he worked with, the towers he had repaired, and the quiet desert that had always been his home. It all seemed so far away now. When the shuttle docked with the massive cruiser, a deep chime echoed through the halls. The interior of the ship was grand, filled with silver light and smooth architecture that curved like flowing water. Vurian soldiers bowed as Karen passed, whispering her name with respect. Varys walked beside them and said, "The council will hear your words soon. They will want to know why you took the oath with a human." Karen's answer was simple, because he proved that humanity has something our people have forgotten. Varys tilted his head. "And what is that?" "Compassion," Karen said. Ryan followed her through the corridor, still unsure how his quiet life had changed so completely. He could not understand every custom or rule, but he understood one thing. His small act of kindness had reached far beyond anything he could imagine. As the great ship turned in orbit and the stars filled the windows, Karen looked out into the endless dark. "Do you see, Ryan?" she said softly. "Two worlds that once feared each other are now bound by a single act of mercy. That is the kind of story the universe remembers." Ryan nodded slowly. "Then let us make it a good one." Karen smiled, and the ship continued its journey toward the unknown future waiting for them both. The Vurian flagship was unlike anything Ryan had ever seen. It stretched across kilometers of space, its silver hull reflecting the stars like liquid metal. Inside, the halls glowed softly with pale blue lights that seemed to flow along the walls as if alive. The air smelled faintly of ozone and metal, but it was clean and refreshing. For a human accustomed to dusty desert air, it was remarkable. Karen led him through the corridors with steady, confident steps. Soldiers and officers bowed slightly as she passed. Some whispered. Others simply stared at the human walking beside the Virian general. Every time Ryan glanced around, he felt the weight of their curiosity. He had never been in a place where people studied him as if he were an extraordinary creature, and in a way he was. They arrived at a chamber filled with holographic displays of planets, star systems, and fleets. At the center, an elevated dais held several figures in ceremonial armor. Their eyes glowed faintly, and their expressions were serious. The room fell silent as Karen approached. "Council members," Karen began, her voice calm but firm, "I bring a witness to an act of courage. This human, Ryan of Varen 4, saved my life when my ship crashed. His actions were not for reward, not for glory. He acted because it was the right thing to do." A tall Vurian with silver markings stepped forward. "You speak of the human," he said. "This one risked himself for a member of our fleet?" Karen nodded. "Yes, and according to our customs, the life debt cannot be ignored. He is now part of my honor chain. He is my companion." Ryan felt a strange mixture of pride and anxiety. He had never considered himself brave or special. He had only acted as any person should when someone needed help. Now he stood in front of the council, a human recognized by the most disciplined alien race he had ever heard of. The council murmured among themselves. Karen gave him a small nod, signaling that he could speak if he wished. Ryan swallowed and stepped forward. "I do not fully understand your customs," he began. "I am only a technician. I repair towers and machines. I did not expect this honor. I only helped because it was the right thing to do. If my actions inspire respect, I am grateful, but I did not act to earn it." The room was silent. The council studied him, their glowing eyes filled with intensity. After a long moment, the same silver-marked Virian spoke again. "It is rare that humans act without expectation. Many species weigh risk against reward. You acted purely from principle. That is why your kind is remarkable." Ryan felt heat rise to his cheeks. "Thank you," he said softly. Karen placed a hand lightly on his shoulder. "He has much to learn," she said. "But humanity's simplicity is sometimes its greatest strength." The council seemed to consider this. One of the elder members, with faint golden markings along the arms, asked, "General Karen, what does this mean for your fleet? Can a human truly understand our ways?" Karen looked at him steadily. "He will learn, and we will learn from him. Humans have a quality our kind rarely remembers. the ability to show compassion without expectation. That alone may be worth more than any weapon or strategy. Ryan listened in amazement. For years, humans had been considered minor players in galactic affairs. Yet here, his actions were being discussed by the leaders of a powerful alien empire. He could not have imagined such a day. After the formal meeting, Karen escorted him to a quiet observation room. The chamber had enormous windows that looked out over the fleet and the stars. Several smaller ships moved in formation below them, all sleek and shining. "You must be tired," Karen said softly. "You have experienced much in a short time." "I am," Ryan admitted. "And overwhelmed. I do not know how to behave here. Everything is so different." Karen smiled faintly. "You behave exactly as needed. You show respect without fear. That is rare." They sat together by the window looking at the stars. For a while neither spoke. Ryan found himself fascinated by the endless points of light. He had seen stars all his life from Baron 4, but from the fleet the view was different. There were so many, so close, so brilliant. "I never thought I would see this," Ryan said finally. "I never imagined I would leave Baron 4, let alone ride aboard a Vurian ship." Karen's violet eyes glowed softly in the dim light. "Sometimes the universe changes faster than we expect. What you have done will be remembered by my people. You have proven humanity has value beyond our estimates." Ryan looked at her. "Do you mean that truly? Or are you just saying that because of your customs?" "I mean it," she said simply. "The humans I have encountered are often cautious, but you have shown what it is to act without fear or greed. That is a rare gift." For the next several days, Ryan remained aboard the flagship. Karen allowed him to explore certain areas under supervision. He saw the engine rooms, the training halls, and the chambers where the fleet's strategy was planned. Everywhere he went, Vurian officers and soldiers greeted him with respect, curiosity, or caution. No one challenged him, and Karen ensured he was never left without guidance. Ryan found himself learning more about the Vurians each day. They were disciplined and organized, yet they had a strict code of honor that valued courage and loyalty above all else. Their ships were advanced, but their people relied not only on technology but on careful observation and strategy. He realized why Karen was such a respected general. One evening, Karen invited Ryan to the training arena. The room was large, filled with mats and equipment. Soldiers practiced formations and maneuvers, moving with precision and speed. Karen stepped onto the floor, her movements graceful and exact. "Try this," she said, handing him a lightweight training weapon. "It is not dangerous. Just practice with me." Ryan laughed nervously. "I have never done anything like this." Karen's smile was encouraging. "Then now is the time to learn. Humans are adaptable. That is your strength." They moved through basic exercises. Ryan stumbled at first, unsure of the rhythm. Karen adjusted his movements patiently. "Feel the balance of your body. Focus on timing, not strength," she instructed. Slowly, he began to match her movements. The exercises were not about fighting, but about discipline, awareness, and control. After hours of practice, Ryan sat on the edge of the arena, sweating but smiling. "I never imagined I could do this," he said. "You are learning more than you realize," Karen said. "Discipline is not about power. It is about understanding yourself and others. You already show that in your actions." Ryan looked at her thoughtfully. "And humans show it differently than your people." Karen considered him. "Yes. Humans may not have our strength or speed, but your compassion and creativity are strengths we rarely see. That is why you were able to save me." The next day, Karen took Ryan to a chamber with large holographic maps of the galaxy. She pointed to several star systems. "Your kind sees a small world as isolated," she said. "But each system is connected. Every choice you make can ripple across the stars." Ryan studied the maps, fascinated. "I never realized it was so connected. I thought one human was too small to matter." Karen's gaze was firm. "One person always matters. You saved my life. That single act will influence our fleet and your people. Do not underestimate the power of a single choice." Over the following days, Ryan became more comfortable aboard the ship. He ate meals with Karen in the dining hall, learning about Vurian food, nutrient-rich and shaped in patterns humans found unusual but appealing. He asked about their traditions, their history, and their leaders. Karen answered every question patiently, sometimes laughing at his curiosity, sometimes marveling at his simple perspective on complex matters. One quiet evening, they returned to the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly around them. Ryan felt a sense of wonder he had never experienced on Varen 4. "Do you ever miss your home?" Karen asked. "Sometimes," he said honestly, "but I never expected home to feel so small. Not in a bad way, just different. Seeing the galaxy like this makes me realize how much there is beyond the desert." Karen smiled. "And yet you do not forget your roots. That is important. Compassion comes from understanding where you come from." Ryan looked at her. "I never imagined I would be here, or that one act could lead to all of this." She placed her hand lightly on his. "One act can change everything. That is why your presence matters. Not just for me, but for the future." Ryan nodded, understanding for the first time the true impact of what he had done. It was not just about saving a life. It was about bridging worlds, showing that human kindness could reach even the stars. As the fleet moved silently through the void, Ryan realized he had entered a place between two worlds, the human world he had known and the vast galaxy of the Vurians. He was not just a visitor. He was a participant, a witness, and in a way a bridge between two species. And with Karen by his side, he knew he was not alone. The grand hall of the Vurian Council was filled with light that shimmered across polished silver walls. Holographic displays projected the neighboring star systems, showing human and Vurian worlds connected by trade routes and communication lines. The atmosphere was formal but charged with anticipation. Rian, standing beside Karen, could feel the weight of history settling over the room. Humans had never been invited to such a meeting. Even Rian, who had grown accustomed to the Vurian fleet, felt nervous. The council members, each taller than he was and clad in ceremonial armor, regarded him with careful attention. Some whispered quietly to one another, while others simply observed in silence. Karen's hand rested lightly on his arm, a steadying presence amid the unfamiliar grandeur. "Honored members of the council," Karen began, her voice carrying clearly across the hall, "I bring before you Ryan of Varen 4, the human who saved my life. His actions were not motivated by fear or reward, but by the courage and kindness that define your species." Ryan swallowed, feeling the heat rise to his face. He had saved Karen simply because it was the right thing to do. He had never imagined that one act would bring him here, standing in front of the leaders of a powerful alien civilization. The eldest council member, his armor adorned with golden lines, stepped forward. "General Karen speaks of the human who acted without hesitation. This is rare among your species, human," he said, directing his words at Ryan. "You have earned our attention. What do you wish to say?" Ryan straightened his posture. "I am only a technician from a small colony," he said. "I do not seek honor or reward. I only acted to save a life. If my actions have value to your people, I am grateful. I hope that through understanding, humans and Vurians can respect one another and work together." A silence followed his words. Then another council member, younger and with silver markings along his arms, spoke. "Your words carry truth. Humans are known for curiosity and persistence, but courage without expectation is uncommon. We see in you a potential that may benefit both our peoples." Karen nodded. "He has taught me a lesson about humanity. One life, one small choice can change the course of events. That is why I honor him as part of my chain." Varys, Karen's second in command, stepped forward. "It is unusual for a human to be recognized in this manner. The fleet may question this, but I trust General Karen's judgment. This is not just about a single act. It is about demonstrating that humans have qualities we have underestimated." Ryan listened, trying to take in the significance. He had never thought of himself as extraordinary, yet here, he was being held as an example of human courage and compassion. He looked at Karen, who gave him a reassuring nod. Her eyes glowed faintly violet, a sign of calm and confidence. The council deliberated for some time. Holographic maps of human colonies and Vurian fleets rotated above their heads. Finally, the eldest member spoke. "We will recognize this bond between human and Vurian. Let it be known that Ryan of Varen 4 is honored among our people. Furthermore, We shall consider formal agreements to strengthen ties with humanity. Ryan's heart raced. Formal agreements between humans and Virians had never happened before. His single act had sparked something far larger than he could have imagined. Karen squeezed his arm lightly, and he smiled faintly. After the council's decision, Karen guided Ryan to a quiet observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly around them, twinkling like scattered diamonds. Below, smaller ships moved in precise formations, practicing maneuvers and signaling their readiness. "You did not expect this," Karen said softly. "No," Ryan admitted. "I only wanted to help." "Yet your simple choice has shaped the future," Karen said. "Humans often underestimate what they can accomplish. Compassion is a power in its own way." Ryan looked out at the galaxy. He thought about Varen 4, the quiet colony, the deserts, the towers he had repaired. It all seemed small now, yet meaningful. The lessons of his home had carried him across the stars. Over the next days, Ryan became familiar with the Virian fleet. He observed training exercises, learned about their communication systems, and even assisted engineers with repairs, using his knowledge of human technology. The Virians were curious about his methods. While their systems were more advanced, Ryan's inventive solutions impressed them. They admired his ability to improvise and adapt. Karen often accompanied him during these activities. She asked questions about human life, customs, and culture, showing genuine interest. Ryan, in turn, learned more about Virian traditions, the honor system, and the importance of loyalty and discipline. Through these exchanges, a mutual respect grew between them, deeper than any bond of obligation. One evening, Karen invited Ryan to the council chamber once more, this time for a private discussion. "Our fleet and your people have much to learn from one another," she said. "We must find ways to cooperate, not as strangers, but as allies." Ryan nodded. "I agree. Understanding each other is the first step." She pointed to a large, holographic display showing trade routes between human and Virian systems. "The Council has authorized preliminary agreements for resource sharing and mutual protection. Your people will receive aid, guidance, and knowledge. In return, we hope humans will join in cooperative missions." Ryan's mind whirled. "This is incredible. I never thought a single act could lead to this." Karen smiled. "It is not just your act alone. It is what it represents. Humans care for one another. That quality inspires trust. Your people may be small in number, but their potential is vast." Over the following weeks, plans were drawn for joint exploration missions. Humans and Virians would travel together to new systems, share resources, and observe unknown phenomena. Ryan was assigned as a liaison, helping communicate between species and offering insight into human customs and capabilities. During this time, Karen and Ryan spent quiet moments together on the observation deck. The galaxy stretched endlessly around them, and they spoke about dreams, hopes, and the future. Ryan found comfort in Karen's presence. Her strength was reassuring, yet she listened with patience and curiosity, valuing his perspective. "You have changed much more than the fleet," Karen said one evening, her violet eyes reflecting the starlight. "You have reminded me that even in a world of discipline and duty, kindness is a power that cannot be measured." Ryan smiled. "I never thought of it that way. I only tried to do what was right." "That is the essence," she said. "Small acts of courage and empathy can shape destinies. Your actions will be remembered by both humans and Virians." As preparations for the first joint missions began, Ryan continued to assist wherever he could. He repaired machinery, improved communication networks, and helped train both humans and Virians in collaborative exercises. Each day he realized the importance of understanding, patience, and trust. One day, Karen brought him to the central hall of the flagship. The council, Virian officers, and human representatives were gathered. "Today marks a new beginning," Karen said. "We honor the bond between human and Virian. We honor the courage that brought us together. From this moment forward, our Peoples shall walk the stars side by side, united by trust, respect, and understanding. The room erupted in acknowledgement. Humans and Vurians exchanged nods, some shaking hands, others bowing in mutual respect. Ryan felt a sense of pride, not for himself alone, but for what humanity had achieved. A small act of kindness had opened doors that no one expected. Later, Karen and Rian returned to the observation deck. "The future is vast," she said. "There will be challenges, and there will be misunderstandings. But together, humans and Vurians can face them." Ryan gazed at the stars. "I never imagined this when I repaired a signal tower on Varen 4. "Neither did I," Karen said. "Yet here we are. Two worlds connected by a simple truth. Compassion and courage matter more than fear or pride." Ryan smiled faintly. "Then let us make this alliance strong. Let us prove that kindness is a power that reaches farther than we imagine." Karen placed her hand on his shoulder. "Yes, together we will make it so." The fleet moved silently through the galaxy, carrying humans and Vurians alike. Ships from both species glided past stars and planets, exploring, learning, and cooperating. The first missions were filled with curiosity and caution, yet every encounter strengthened trust. Humans brought creativity and adaptability. Vurians contributed discipline and knowledge. Rian worked alongside Karen, often standing at the edge of observation decks, looking out into the stars. He realized that one life, saved through a simple act of kindness, had become the foundation for a new chapter for two civilizations.